Hey y'all, welcome to the Player Development Pod. Today we're going to talk about 5 ways that you can help build a mentorship ecosystem in your program. The first way is player to player. The second way is former player to player to current player. Number 3 is staff to player. Number 4 is professional to player. And number 5 is your player to the community. All right, so let's start off with player to player. When I was in the role at the University of Houston, one thing that we did was we did something called the Big Brother program. And so Big Brother program was something where we took a veteran player and paired them with a newcomer. And it was something that was really, really good. When I got to Baylor University, we did it again. And it was just great to see how you can take someone who's been on a team and just help. They're helping that unprecedented transition that this athlete has never seen, specifically your athletes coming from high school. You can still do this with a lot of athletes transition through transfer portal because every place is different. But those who are coming out of high school, you get an older player to walk with them through everything they need to know. Where to be, how we do things, academically, athletically, everything. And so you had this big brother who helped you throughout that entire process. Now, whenever we put them together, I was more, what are the commonalities? So a lot of people would say, hey, let's just put these 2 D linemen together. Wait a minute, those 2 D linemen are competing for a position. Maybe not. But who's from this area? I know when I was in Houston, we have people rural and they're city cowboys. Like maybe they like cowboys, they like cows, they like farm things. Let's put them together. Or, you may have a linebacker. When I was at Baylor, you got a linebacker, in Kansas, you got a linebacker from California, you got a running back who's coming in from California as well. So you pair them together. And so you want to pair, I'm big on pairing commonalities, maybe a first-gen athlete with another first-gen athlete. Now, of course, they'll integrate with other people in the locker room, but I always felt that it was better to integrate rather than just, these 2, quarterback and wide receiver. Well, it may be quarterback and a nose guard that fits better. We had a place where we had an offensive lineman and a safety, and it worked really, really well, right? Because we paired people close to what they have. Now, some people are in their position groups, like you may have, 2 guys. And when I was at Baylor, we had 2 country guys, and they both played O-line, so we paired them together. But what I loved and where I grew in this at Baylor was I had a weekly check-in with our veteran players. What's going on? And they would tell me, hey, so-and-so's growing, so-and-so needs help, whatever it may be. And I kind of help them. And you kind of could put the onus of the leadership on them. Of course, you don't penalize them for the actions of others, but you say, hey man, you need to talk to so-and-so's doing good. I see what you're doing. So that is the Big Brother program. And actually, I want you to watch a quick video right here. When I was at Baylor University, we had a Big Brother. Our first thing we did is we did a dinner together. So we had them all together. We did a quick dinner. And so you can check out that video right here. So that dinner was pretty cool. It was something to get them together, or that outing, because the sun's still out. It was at night, but the outing to get them to get to meet their big brothers and all that stuff. And we had spent time with the big brothers, giving them pictures and as much background as possible. But that's one way that you can create mentorship in your program. Second way is former player to current player, And while I have y'all, please like, subscribe, and share. Most of y'all who are watching this have not subscribed. I want y'all to subscribe so you can get all this goodness all the time. All right. Former player to current player. This is something that we've done everywhere I was at. And so let me tell you about myself. You heard me talk about Houston and Baylor, but I served in the player development role at Houston, Kansas, and Baylor. So I'm passionate about this stuff. And this is why I have over 3 days of content for you to consume. But we did this at Kansas really, really well. Kansas, out of all the places I was at, Kansas probably had the best structure of former players who wanted to pour back into the current players. And so we had a former linebacker who was a big-time linebacker during the Orange Bowl, Mike Rivera, who played in the NFL. He was doing a lot of stuff in commercial real estate. And so he came back. I found out which players on our team wanted to do real estate. So he came back, sat down with us one day, as you can see in this picture here. He sat down with the athletes and they went over real estate, and it was really, really cool to have that. But that is something, those former players, you probably seen the podcast episode. You can check it out here where I talk about alumni engaging your former players. This is one way to get them engaged to the program. Have them mentor your current player. Now, as always, put them through the process. You got to have some discernment there because you can have some just have discernment there. But having former players pour back into the current players is something that is really, really good. Now, speaking of people pouring into people, I want you to come to the 2025 Player Development Summit that will be here in Kansas City, May 29th through the 31st, as we will be pouring into you. You all that want to learn more about player development, you all want to get connected. Our 4 goals there are to grow, network, partner, hire. So if you want to come and be around that, please come. All the information you need is in the show notes. Another way to build a mentorship ecosystem in your program is staff to player. Now, you can do football staff. I always did athletic staff or university staff because football staff's always there. Now, they do build, you could build some organic or authentic mentorship pipelines there, but I always wanted to get somebody. So one way we did it is we had a guy who wanted to learn. I always ask the students, what do they want to know? What do they want to learn? And one of our players wanted to be athletic director. So I started asking different people in different departments of our athletic department, like, hey, do you mind if so-and-so meets with you? So you see this picture here of Peyton Haslam. He's meeting with our external operations and our AD over ticketing. Shout out to Pete Heim. But they're meeting with them, and they built these relationships with him, and he still leans back, I think, to this day on those relationships. But they built a mentorship with him where they were always at the game. He would see them in practice, and we built a mentorship with our staff to our players, because these players, most of them know, a lot of them don't want to admit that at some point it's going to end. And so you need to be prepared for the future. And so having those staff to player mentorships, get those conversations or get our players more used to those conversations about what is next. All right, and the next one we have is professional to player. Now, this one is a former player, but he is a professional. So we had a player who wanted to learn about, he's like, I want to learn about entrepreneurship. So we sent it out, and one of our former players, who was a big time professional in the city of Houston, came and he built this relationship with our player. And then what I love is we went and we got to see him do his thing professionally. Like, we got to see him do some operations. It was crazy. And he taught us about how his building pays this building. He owns that. And then he owns the supply company. He owns that. And they're all paying each other, which pays him. That was huge. That player, and you can see the picture right here. This is Sebastian Villarreal, All-American kicker at the University of Houston, and Alex Myers. Alex actually, from that relationship, he became an entrepreneur. And so Alex ended up being an entrepreneur. He's a co-founder, co-owner of 7 a.m. Distribution. So if you're into coffee, go click the link in the show notes, help one of my former athletes out. But yeah, he took those lessons and he grew. And so that professional to player mentorship can be very, very huge. Now you're sitting here, you're like, man, you did some pretty cool stuff in the role. I want you to help me, or hey, maybe can you bring this to our program? We want to create a mentorship ecosystem, because you probably know I got it on a deeper level than what I'm sharing. If that is you, if you're that person who says, hey man, help me out, there's a link in the show notes that says, here's how Beyond the Field can help you. Click that link and hey, let's work together. And then finally, player to the community, creating that mentorship. We got to do this. The best I've seen it done was at Kansas when I was there. We had a local middle school, Billy Mills Middle School. And the principal at Billy Mills, Dr. Jones, wanted mentorship for his young men that were kind of getting out of that 6th to 7th grade, where you're like, I'm not a kid or I'm not a boy, I'm a teenager. They're growing, and so they had some challenges, just growing up being teenage boys. And so we went weekly with them. You can see these photos here that are going across your screen. But we got to go weekly and got to spend time with them and really build a mentorship program with them. What I loved about it is it impacted my athletes, I felt like, more than the kids. And so the kids got to grow up. We saw a couple of the kids when they got to high school. I still see some kids every now and then. I found I was related to one of the kids, didn't even know. But it was pretty cool to build that relationship from player to community. We also did this at the University of Houston. You can see it here in the pictures as well. We went to a local elementary and we would show up. This elementary had low math and reading scores. So we would show up to help them during their lunch, right before lunch. We would show up every week, and these kids, look at the smiles on these kids' faces. Look at the smiles on my players' faces, right? We got to be in the community and mentor people in the community. So those are the 5 ways you can build a mentorship ecosystem in your program. Once again, I'll say them again: player to player, former player to current player, staff to player, professional to player, and your player to the community. Once again, if you need any help creating this in your program, click the link in the show notes that says, here's how Beyond the Field can help you. As I always say, go out and create generational impact. Don't wait, create that generational impact today. Hey, come on, y'all. Come to the Player Development Summit. I'll see y'all May 29th through the 31st. Hey, y'all have a good one.